In a world of noise and distraction, there is one place where wisdom still whispers, where voices of greatness echo through time. Welcome to the Motivational Library. There comes a moment in every human life, quiet, brutal, and unannounced, when everything you thought you were collapses. Maybe it was the night you sat on the edge of your bed, staring into a darkness that felt heavier than it should. Maybe it was the morning you woke up with a familiar ache in your chest, a silent whisper reminding you that the life you were living wasn't the life you once dreamed of. Or maybe it was the day life hit you harder than you ever imagined. A betrayal, a failure, a loss, a truth that shattered the person you thought you were. Whatever your moment was, that's where this book begins, because that's where you began too. Not the you that showed up for the world, not the you who wore strength like armor, not the you who pretended to have answers while drowning quietly inside. No, I'm talking about the real you, the one buried under expectations, disappointments, and untold stories, the one with bruised hope, the one who still aches for meaning, the one who somehow, despite everything, is still fighting. This book is about that fighter. This book is about the day the wolf inside you wakes up. The wolf is not the strongest part of you. It is the truest part of you. Wolves don't quit, not because they are fearless, but because they walk through fear. Not because life is easy, but because their instinct refuses to surrender. Not because they always know the way, but because they trust the one thing most people never do, their own spirit. Somewhere along your journey, the world taught you to tame that spirit. Be realistic. Stay safe. Don't try too hard. Don't want too much. Don't stand out. Don't fail. But the cost of a caged life is always the same, a slow, silent death of your potential. And you feel it in your bones. That's why you're here. You didn't come to this book by accident. You came because something inside you is tired of being tamed. Something inside you wants the fire back. Something inside you knows that your life is meant to be more than survival. This book is about awakening that part of you. The rebirth. If you listen this book the way it was intended, slowly, deeply, honestly, you will not be the same person by the time you finish. You will walk differently, speak differently, choose differently, think differently, expect differently, love differently, stand differently, believe differently. You will not become perfect. You will become powerful. You will not become fearless. You will become unstoppable. You will not become someone else. You will become yourself, fully, unapologetically, and fiercely. The world doesn't need more impressive people. The world needs more people who refuse to quit on themselves. People like you. Welcome to the beginning of your rise. Welcome to the return of your power. Welcome to Wolves Don't Quit. Let's begin. Chapter 2. Lessons Written in the Dark. The kind of darkness you can't explain. There is a darkness in life that doesn't come from the absence of light. It comes from the absence of certainty, the absence of direction, the absence of the person you used to be. This darkness doesn't always arrive with tragedy. Sometimes it shows up quietly, through numbness, quiet exhaustion, or that deep, unsettling sense that you are drifting through your own life. People around you might never understand it. They see you functioning, showing up, doing the things you're supposed to do, but inside, a storm is brewing. This is the kind of darkness that teaches without speaking. It pulls you inward. It strips away the noise. It forces you to confront yourself in a way the light never could. Rock bottom is not always a dramatic collapse. Sometimes it's a long, slow unraveling, a quiet despair, a subtle erosion of your identity. And in that silence, lessons begin to write themselves. The day life stops protecting you. Growing up, the world protects you in ways you don't recognize. Parents soften the blows. Friends distract you from pain. Society hands you ready-made answers, but life eventually removes all the buffers. Suddenly, you're left alone with your choices, your wounds, your unhealed parts, your truth. It's shocking at first when life stops being gentle, but there's a hidden gift in this moment. Life stops protecting you only when it's time to grow. Pain isn't sent to punish you. Pain is sent to reveal you, your resilience, your hunger, your courage, your depth. The darkness becomes a mirror, and what you see is not weakness. It's the raw, unfiltered version of you. The version that has been buried under expectations, distractions, and noise. This is where the lessons begin. The truth about hitting rock bottom? People imagine rock bottom as a single moment, a fall, a heartbreak, a failure so big it knocks the air out of your body. But real rock bottom isn't a moment. It's a realization. The realization that the life you're living is no longer aligned with the person you are becoming. That realization is far more painful than any event. Because events hurt once. Realizations hurt until they change you. Rock bottom is the moment you stop blaming circumstances and start seeing yourself clearly. It's the place where illusions die. The illusion that you are powerless. The illusion that you have no choice. The illusion that you must live life the same way you always have. Rock bottom is the breaking of the lie, and that is its gift. What the darkness teaches you about people. When everything is fine, you don't know who truly stands with you. But when life grows dark, people reveal themselves. Some disappear, not because they are bad people, but because they were only meant to walk with the version of you that existed before the fall. Some stay, but only out of convenience or familiarity. And a precious few remain because they see you, they feel you, they believe in the person you're fighting to become. Darkness exposes loyalty, but more importantly, it exposes dependency. Every time you depended on someone to validate you, to understand you, to save you, the dark removes them, not to hurt you, but to teach you to stand on your own feet. Painfully, you learn the difference between company and support, between attention and care, between those who love your light and those who stay through your storms. This is a lesson only darkness can teach. What the darkness teaches you about yourself. When the world grows quiet, you hear yourself clearly, and the voice inside you, your true voice, is honest to the point of brutality. It tells you what you've avoided, who you've outgrown, what you've been pretending, where you've been lying to yourself, what you need to let go, who you need to forgive, what needs to change. In the dark, there's nowhere to run. Your habits are exposed. Your coping mechanisms become obvious. Your excuses sound hollow. Your fears take shape. Your desires become louder. Your truth becomes undeniable. You realize that the pain you're feeling isn't from life breaking you. It's from life pushing you toward the person you're meant to become. Darkness is not punishment. It's clarity. And clarity often hurts before it heals. The lesson of stillness. Most people fear stillness because stillness exposes truth. But there is a sacred power in being forced into quiet. Stillness teaches you to observe instead of react, to feel instead of suppress, to listen instead of speak, to breathe instead of rush, to be instead of pretend. The world teaches you to be busy. Darkness teaches you to be present. And in presence, you discover something profound. You were never broken. You were only disconnected. Disconnected from your needs, your instincts, your boundaries, your values, your vision. Your heart, stillness reconnects you. Suddenly you begin to understand what you actually want from life. Not what you were told to want, not what you settled for, not what you accepted out of fear. Stillness reveals everything, pain as a map. Pain is not random. It points, it shows, it directs. Pain is your life's GPS system, the warning signal that something is misaligned, mistreated, misunderstood, or ignored. The pain of loneliness, it points to the connections you need to build or the ones you need to release. The pain of failure, it points to the growth you avoided, the risks you stopped taking. The pain of stagnation, it points to dreams you left unattended. The pain of heartbreak, it points to parts of you that need healing before they can love fully. The pain of self-betrayal, it points to the standards you lowered to fit into a life that wasn't meant for you. Pain is direction, pain is instruction, pain is reflection. And when you learn to read pain instead of escape it, you grow faster than you ever have. The dark reveals what you can no longer carry. Life will strip away everything that becomes too heavy for your soul. Old identities, old relationships, old beliefs, old dreams, old routines, old excuses, old versions of you. It feels like loss at first, but it is liberation. The truth is simple. You cannot rise while holding on to what was meant to stay behind. The darkness shows you what has expired. It reveals the weight you're not meant to carry into the next chapter of your life. The letting go hurts, but staying hurts more. This is the difference between suffering and transforming. Suffering is holding on. Transformation is releasing. Darkness encourages release. The wisdom you couldn't learn in the light, only darkness can teach certain lessons. The lesson of self-trust, the lesson of inner strength, the lesson of survival, the lesson of boundaries, the lesson of clarity, the lesson of courage, the lesson of rebirth. You don't grow through the easy seasons. You grow through the seasons that break you open. You don't evolve when life is comfortable. You evolve when comfort is no longer an option. You don't meet the real you when everything is going right. You meet the real you when everything falls apart. The darkness is not the opposite of light. It is the birthplace of light. Every powerful version of you is shaped here, in the quiet, in the pain, in the uncertainty, in the truth. Key takeaways. Darkness is not a punishment. It is a mirror that reveals what needs to change. Rock bottom is not a single event, but a realization that your current life no longer aligns with who you are becoming. Pain is a teacher and a guide. It reveals what you must face, transform, or release. Stillness brings clarity, and clarity often comes through discomfort. The dark seasons of life are where identity is rebuilt and strength is born. Action. Step, sit alone in a quiet space and ask yourself 3 questions. 1. What is the darkness in my life trying to teach me? 2. What pain have I been avoiding that is actually pointing me toward change? 3. What part of my life feels too small for who I am becoming? Write your answers without filtering, without judging, without holding back. This reflection will become the foundation for the transformation ahead. Chapter 3. Finding your way back to yourself. There comes a moment in every person's life when the dust settles just enough for them to see the truth they've been avoiding. Not the truth the world told them, not the truth they pretended to accept, but the truth that rises from within when all distractions fade and silence becomes impossible to escape. That moment is the beginning of the journey back to yourself. For a long time, you've survived on instinct. You've endured storms, heartbreak, disappointment, betrayal, confusion, and moments of collapse. You've spent nights convincing yourself you were fine. You've carried burdens no one else knew about. You've worn masks because the weight of your unspoken pain felt too heavy to reveal. But survival and healing are not the same. Survival demands strength. Healing requires honesty. And honesty is where your return begins. When life breaks you open, when everything familiar falls apart, when the person you once were can no longer exist, that is when the path home presents itself, quietly, without ceremony, without applause. At first, it doesn't feel like a path at all. It feels like exhaustion. It feels like a hollow ache in the chest. It feels like staring at the ceiling late at night, wondering where you lost yourself and whether you can ever find your way back. You don't just wake up one day knowing who you are again. You rediscover yourself piece by piece, layer by layer, truth by truth. The first layer you peel back is denial. The lie you told yourself that you were okay, that you could carry everything without breaking. You confront the reality that pain changed you, shaped you, hardened you, and maybe even made you forget parts of your humanity. You realize you've been moving through life on autopilot, reacting instead of choosing, enduring instead of living. The second layer is the weight of expectations, the invisible load you've carried for years. The pressure to be strong, the pressure to be perfect, the pressure to be unshakable even when you were falling apart internally. Somewhere along the way, you started living for others more than for yourself. Their opinions, their needs, their judgment became louder than your own voice. You peel back this layer with discomfort because it forces you to admit how much of your life has been shaped by the fear of disappointing others. How often you've silenced your own desires. How many times you betrayed your own boundaries to protect relationships that didn't protect you. The third layer is pain. The wounds you never addressed, the heartbreaks you shrugged off, the traumas you minimized, the failures you carried like proof of your worthlessness. Finding your way back to yourself means finally acknowledging these wounds instead of burying them. You don't heal by pretending they don't exist. You heal by facing them with courage and compassion. This part is the hardest. You will want to turn away. You will want to distract yourself. You will want to rush. But returning to yourself is not a race. It's an unfolding. And the truth cannot be rushed. You sit with memories you've avoided, not to reopen them, but to understand them. You allow yourself to feel grief for the moments you were broken and had no one to hold you. You release anger you've been carrying like armor. You accept that there were times you needed help and didn't receive it, times you needed love and got disappointment instead, times you deserved better and didn't know it. Slowly, the fog begins to lift. You start noticing the parts of yourself you abandoned along the way, the dreams you set aside, the passions you outgrew or forgot, the things that once made you feel alive. You realize how much of your identity was constructed around survival rather than fulfillment. Finding yourself again requires rebuilding from the inside, not the image, not the role, not the performance, but the core. This rebuilding begins with simple, quiet questions. What do I actually want? What makes me feel more like myself? What drains my spirit? What energizes me? What wounds am I still carrying? What behaviors no longer reflect who I want to be? What version of me have I outgrown? These questions are uncomfortable, but they are necessary. They strip away all the noise and force you to confront your truth. You may not have the answers immediately. That's okay. The power lies not in the answers, but in the willingness to ask. Eventually, you start hearing something that feels unfamiliar. Your own voice. It doesn't arrive in a loud thunder. It doesn't demand attention. It whispers, it nudges, it points. At first, you barely recognize it because for years it was buried under fear, noise, and self-doubt. But with each layer you peel away, the voice grows stronger, clearer, more authentic. And with it comes a sense of alignment, the feeling that your inner world is no longer at war with itself. You begin taking small steps toward yourself. You choose rest where you once chose self-neglect. You choose honesty where you once chose silence. You choose boundaries where you once allowed chaos. You choose healing where you once chose denial. You choose your own well-being without guilt. This is how you begin to return, through decisions that honor your soul instead of betray it. You notice the shift in your energy. You stop forcing yourself into spaces that drain you. You stop chasing people who never valued you. You stop expecting others to validate your worth. You stop apologizing for your presence, your needs, your truth. You begin to reclaim your identity. Not the identity others crafted for you. Not the identity shaped by pain. Not the identity molded by fear. But the identity that emerges when you stand in your own truth. Finding yourself again feels like coming home. It feels like breathing freely after years of suffocation. It feels like finally recognizing the person in the mirror. It feels like remembering who you were before the world dimmed your light. This chapter is not about transformation. That comes later. This chapter is about restoration, a rebuilding, a remembering. You rediscover your inner voice. You realign with your true values. You confront the stories that kept you small. You release the guilt that kept you stuck. You reclaim the power you once gave away. And slowly, the world inside you begins to shift. Your thoughts grow clearer. Your emotions become easier to understand. Your decisions start reflecting who you are instead of who you're afraid to be. Your heart, once guarded by layers of pain, begins to open again. This return to self is what prepares you for the rise, the awakening of the warrior within, because you cannot rise until you know what you're rising from. You cannot build a stronger version of yourself until you understand the foundation you're rebuilding upon. And you realize something powerful. You were never lost. You were buried under expectations, trauma, fear, noise, and survival. But your essence, your true self, never left. It was waiting, patiently, quietly, always there beneath the layers. Now, you're uncovering it. Now, you're reclaiming it. Now, you're becoming whole again. Finding your way back to yourself is not a final destination. It is the beginning of everything that comes next. It is the door you must walk through before you awaken your inner warrior, before your courage returns, before your power rises, before you burn the old identity and evolve into the person you were always meant to be. This chapter is the turning point, the quiet revolution, the moment your soul stops whispering and starts speaking with authority. And once you hear your own voice again, truly hear it, nothing in this world can silence I. Chapter 4. When the wolf finally wakes. The moment courage returns, instinct ignites, and your wild self rises. Every transformation has a single defining moment. The moment the old version of you dies, and the warrior inside finally opens its eyes. It rarely happens in a dramatic place. Not on a mountaintop, not in a therapy room, not during some perfect sunrise. More often it happens in an ordinary moment that doesn't look holy or powerful at all. The shower where you break down for the last time, the car ride where you wipe your tears and stare out the window, the quiet night when you sit on the edge of your bed feeling something shift inside your chest. It's the moment you whisper to yourself, I can't keep living like this. You don't roar, you don't stand tall, you don't suddenly feel strong. In fact, you feel exhausted. But there's a different kind of exhaustion this time. Not the exhaustion of being defeated, but the exhaustion that comes right before a fighter stands up again after a long fall. This is where the wolf inside you begins to wake. The wolf is not anger, it is not aggression. The wolf is instinct. The wolf is courage. The wolf is the deep knowing of who you are beneath pain, fear, and expectation. For years, you've kept this part of yourself asleep. You didn't mean to. You were trying to survive. You were trying to fit in. You were trying to keep peace, maintain relationships, avoid conflict, or simply stay afloat. But every time you silenced your truth, every time you betrayed your boundaries, every time you shrank to make others comfortable, a piece of the wolf inside you drifted deeper into sleep. But the soul can only stay silent for so long. There comes a point when your spirit refuses to stay buried. A point where the voice inside you grows louder than the noise around you. A point where the pain of staying the same becomes heavier than the fear of changing. That is the moment the wolf stirs. You may feel it as a spark, small, unexpected, but undeniable. A sudden clarity, a sudden strength in your spine, a sudden refusal to tolerate what you once accepted, a sudden realization that the life you're living is too small for who you really are. It might start with a simple decision. You stop answering someone who drains your energy. You decline something you would have said yes to out of guilt. You set a boundary you've been avoiding for years. You decide to protect your peace for once. You choose yourself in a moment you previously would have abandoned yourself. It doesn't feel like rebellion at first. It feels like oxygen. This is how awakening begins. Not with noise, but with alignment. The wolf inside you doesn't wake with violence. It wakes with awareness. It wakes when you finally acknowledge your own worth. It wakes when you stop asking permission to exist. It wakes when you stop waiting for someone else to save you, fix you, choose you, or validate you. When the wolf wakes, something powerful happens. You begin to trust yourself again. You trust your intuition, the instinct you ignored because it didn't match what others said. You trust your emotion. Instead of shaming yourself for feeling deeply, you trust your boundaries instead of apologizing for needing them. You trust your path, even when no one else understands it. This trust is not arrogance, it is truth. You were born with the ability to sense what is right for you. Life simply taught you to doubt it. But when the wolf wakes, doubt starts losing its grip. You begin to feel your strength return. Not the strength to endure, but the strength to act. The strength to disrupt patterns. The strength to walk away from what hurts. The strength to build what you desire. The strength to confront what you've been avoiding. There is a fire in you that doesn't burn anything down. It burns everything false. You start recognizing the relationships that were feeding on your silence. You start recognizing the habits that were numbing your potential. You start recognizing the environments that were suffocating your growth. You start recognizing the stories you've been telling yourself that kept you small. And for the first time in a long time, you are not afraid to face them. The wolf inside you is not afraid of truth. The wolf inside you is not afraid of change. The wolf inside you is not afraid of loss. Because the wolf knows something your fear doesn't. Anything you lose by becoming a stronger version of yourself was never meant to stay. Awakening also brings discomfort. You will feel restless because your spirit wants expansion. You will feel emotional because your heart is thawing from years of suppression. You will feel uncertain because your old identity doesn't fit anymore. You will feel pulled towards something bigger, even if you can't name it yet. This restlessness is not a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that something inside you is shifting, evolving, demanding more. Your instincts sharpen, your awareness heightens, your courage grows quietly. You begin making decisions not from fear, but from truth. Not from familiarity, but from alignment. Not from woundedness, but from self-respect. And the world feels different, not because the world changed, but because you did. One morning you wake up and sense something new. The heaviness is still there, but it no longer controls you. The doubt still whispers, but it no longer defines you. The fear still exists, but it no longer has authority. You feel awake, more awake than you've felt in years. You feel like someone who is ready to rebuild, ready to rise, ready to reclaim your life. This is the wolf, the part of you that refuses to stay broken. The part of you that refuses to accept a life that doesn't honor your spirit. The part of you that refuses to quit, collapse, or surrender to the versions of yourself that were built from pain. People around you will notice this change. Some will respect it, some will fear it, some will resent it, some will distance themselves from it. Because when your wolf wakes, you stop being easy to manipulate. You stop being controlled by guilt. You stop tolerating half love, half effort, half presence, or half truths. You stop abandoning yourself just to be accepted by others. Not everyone will celebrate the moment you choose yourself. But the wolf does not need applause. Your awakening will challenge people who benefited from your silence. It will threaten those who were comfortable with your brokenness. It will expose those who only stood beside you when you were small. Let them go. Your rise is not their responsibility. Your healing is not their comfort zone. Your awakening is not their business. This chapter of your life requires a different version of you. A stronger, wiser, more aligned version. A version who doesn't settle. A version who knows their worth. A version who trusts their path even when it's lonely. You are stepping into that version now. The wolf is fully awake, and once awakened, it does not return to sleep. Now courage becomes your new normal. Not because fear disappears, but because fear no longer decides your future. You learn to act even when your hands shake. You learn to speak even when your voice trembles. You learn to walk forward even when the path is unclear. Awakening gives you power. Action gives you momentum. Momentum gives you transformation. And soon the world around you adjusts to the strength within you. New opportunities appear. New people enter your life. New chapters unfold. Not because luck finds you, but because you finally stop blocking your own path. When the wolf wakes, your destiny wakes with it. You start seeing possibilities where you once saw limitations. You start seeing lessons where you once saw failures. You start seeing growth where you once saw pain. You start seeing yourself as capable, deserving, powerful. This is the beginning of your rise, the beginning of the warrior phase of your life. The part where you no longer passively absorb life, but actively shape it. The part where you no longer tolerate toxicity, but protect your peace like a sacred fortress. The part where you no longer beg for love, but embody it. The part where you no longer chase validation, but stand in self-authority. The wolf does not chase. The wolf leads. The wolf chooses. The wolf walks forward with certainty. And now so do you. Your awakening is your declaration to the world and to yourself that you are no longer living a life built from fear, pain, or old wounds. You are choosing growth. You are choosing truth. You are choosing your future over your past. The wolf inside you, your courage, your strength, your intuition, has returned, and it will guide you into the next phase of your evolution. You are no longer the person you were before the storm. You are stronger, you are wiser, you are awake. And once the wolf finally wakes, the rise becomes inevitable. Chapter 5. The Calm Mind of a Warrior. Strength is not born in noise. It is born in silence. There comes a point in your evolution where raw power, raw emotion, and raw awakening aren't enough. Awakening the wolf inside you gives you courage. Yes, but courage without control can burn your life to the ground. Fire can warm a home, or it can destroy it. The difference is mastery. The warrior phase of your life begins the moment you realize that true strength is not loud, chaotic, or explosive. True strength is controlled. True strength is precise. True strength is calm. This chapter is about becoming that version of yourself, the one whose mind does not shatter under pressure, whose emotions do not run wild, whose presence itself becomes a force of stability. The calm mind of a warrior is not the absence of emotion. It is the mastery of it. The storm inside you. Before you learn calmness, you must acknowledge the storm. Inside you lives a history of battles, heartbreaks, betrayals, disappointments, victories, failures, losses, and moments that cut deep. For years, your emotions lived like untrained animals, reacting to every noise, every threat, every memory, every hint of rejection or abandonment. Your mind jumped to the worst-case scenario. Your heart responded with fear. Your body stored every past wound like it was still happening. This is not weakness. This is survival. Your nervous system learned to defend you before you even realized what you were defending against. But survival mode is not meant to be a home, just a shelter. You are entering a new chapter now, a chapter where you no longer need to fight every shadow. A chapter where your reactions no longer control you. A chapter where you learn to metabolize emotions instead of being consumed by them. This is where warriors are made, not in battlefields, but in the unseen fights of the mind. The shift from reacting to responding. Most people live their entire lives reacting to emotions, reacting to people, reacting to stress, reacting to triggers they don't understand. But warriors respond. The difference is subtle but life-changing. Reacting is automatic. Responding is intentional. Reacting is driven by fear. Responding is driven by clarity. Reacting creates chaos. Responding creates power. The calm mind of a warrior is built through awareness, the ability to notice your emotions without being hijacked by them. When you feel anger rise, you pause. When fear whispers, you investigate. When doubt appears, you question it. When insecurities flare, you ground yourself instead of spiraling. This pause is the birthplace of mastery. It's the moment where you stop letting the past dictate your present. It's the moment where you stop handing control to your emotions. It's the moment where you become conscious instead of reactive. You don't need to be emotionless to be powerful. You need to be self-governing. The warrior's stillness. Stillness is not doing nothing. Stillness is doing everything with presence. When a warrior moves, they move with intention. When they speak with precision. When they decide with clarity. Stillness is the discipline of holding your internal world steady, even when your external world is shaking. You no longer collapse because someone raises their voice. You no longer lose your center when life throws uncertainty your way. You no longer fall apart just because something didn't go as planned. Stillness is the ability to sit with discomfort, pressure, and emotion without being controlled by them. It is not apathy, it is sovereignty. A calm mind lets you see situations as they truly are, not through the distortion of fear, insecurity, or ego. You begin to notice things you once missed. You begin to understand people's intentions without absorbing their energy. You begin to see patterns in your own emotions that once confused you. Stillness creates vision. Vision creates wisdom. Wisdom creates power. This is why the calmest person in the room is always the most powerful. Not because they are unaffected, but because they are undisturbed. The discipline of emotional regulation. Warriors train their emotions the way athletes train their bodies, not through suppression, but through discipline. Suppression is ignoring how you feel. Discipline is acknowledging how you feel, then choosing how to act. You can feel anger without becoming destructive. You can feel fear without becoming frozen. You can feel sadness without becoming broken. You can feel love without becoming blind. The calm mind does not eliminate emotion, it leads it. This requires practices most people avoid because they demand honesty, sitting in silence to hear your own thoughts, slowing down instead of rushing to escape discomfort, naming your emotions instead of numbing them, breathing through triggers instead of feeding them, pausing before responding to avoid regret. These are not small things. These are weapons. A warrior's calm is not natural, it is earned. Detachment, the skill that creates freedom. Detachment is not coldness. Detachment is clarity. It means you care, but you don't cling. You love, but you don't lose yourself. You give, but you don't betray your boundaries. You connect, but you don't depend on external validation. You feel deeply, but you don't collapse under emotion. Most of your suffering came from attachment, to outcomes, to people, to expectations, to memories, to old identities. When you detach, you regain your center. You stop forcing what isn't meant for you. You stop fearing what you can't control. You stop chasing what doesn't nurture you. You stop gripping tightly to people who were only meant to teach you. Detachment returns your power to where it belongs, inside you. The calm mind of a warrior is a mind that has released what was never theirs to hold. Clarity, the gift of a quiet mind. When your mind is loud, life feels confusing. When your mind becomes quiet, life becomes clear. Clarity doesn't come from thinking harder. Clarity comes from removing noise. Noise from overthinking. Noise from fear. Noise from past wounds. Noise from opinions that don't matter. Noise from self-doubt. Noise from environments that drain you. Quieting your mind creates space, and in that space, your truth rises. You begin to see who you are. You begin to see what you want. You begin to see what is no longer aligned with your spirit. You begin to see what deserves your energy and what needs to be released. Clarity is not a luxury for warriors. It is a necessity, because when your mind is clear, your path becomes clear. Resilience, the calm that cannot be broken. Resilience is not about how many times you fall. It's about how unshakable you remain when life tries to break you. A calm mind does not crumble at the first sign of pressure. It bends, but it does not break. It feels, but it does not collapse. It hurts, but it does not surrender. Your resilience grows each time you face emotion instead of running from it. Choose discipline instead of impulse. Use stillness instead of reaction. Speak truth instead of hiding. Hold boundaries instead of begging to be understood. Remain centered even when others lose control. Resilience is built in the moments where it would be easier to fall apart, but you choose alignment instead. You are not the same person you were when the storm first hit. You are stronger now, not because life became easier, but because you became more grounded. The power of non-reactivity. Reactivity is a form of slavery. Non-reactivity is a form of liberation. When you stop reacting to everything, you become untouchable. People can try to provoke you. You remain centered. Situations can go wrong. You remain steady. Fear tries to intimidate you. You remain grounded. Doubt tries to whisper. You remain focused. Chaos tries to shake you. You remain calm. Non-reactivity is not numbness. It is mastery. It means you have developed enough inner strength to decide what deserves your energy and what does not. You no longer allow your mood to be dictated by circumstances. You no longer let your peace be bought or stolen. This is where true confidence comes from knowing that nothing outside you can control what's inside you. Becoming unshakable. The calm mind of a warrior becomes unshakable because it is rooted in truth, not emotion, in intention, not impulse, in clarity, not confusion. Unshakable does not mean unaffected. Unshakable means you know how to return to yourself no matter what happens. You recover faster. You center yourself quicker. You choose your responses more wisely. You stay aligned even when tested. You protect your energy with discipline. You maintain your inner peace like it's sacred because it is. This is the point where people begin to notice something different about you. They can't explain it, but they feel it. You move differently. You speak differently. You carry yourself with a grounded confidence that doesn't need validation. Your presence becomes calm yet commanding, like someone who knows where they're going and no longer fears the unknown. This is what makes a warrior powerful. Not force, but mastery. Key takeaways. A calm mind is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. Stillness, awareness, and detachment build emotional mastery. Responding instead of reacting is a warrior's greatest skill. Clarity comes from removing noise, not forcing answers. Resilience grows through discipline, presence, and emotional regulation. Reflection exercise. 1. Sit in silence for 10 minutes today. No distractions. Just observe your thoughts without acting on them. This practice builds the pause you need for emotional mastery. 2. Write down 3 areas of your life where you tend to react impulsively. Next to each one, write how you want to respond next time. 3. Identify one emotional habit you want to unlearn this week. Overthinking, people-pleasing, fear-based decisions, bottling emotions, or anything else. Commit to replacing it with a calm, grounded alternative.
Chapter 6. Burning the self you outgrew. There comes a point in every person's life where growth stops being about adding more and starts being about letting go. It's subtle at first. A restlessness, a pressure in your chest, a sense that the life you're living, the habits you're repeating, the people you're entertaining, the dreams you've settled for, none of it fits anymore. It's like wearing a jacket you've outgrown. You can still squeeze into it, but it restricts you, suffocates you, limits your movement. You pretend it's fine. You pretend you're fine, but something in you knows. You become too big for the person you used to be. And the truth is harsh. The version of you that survived your past cannot lead you into your future. This chapter is where you begin the hardest work of your life, the burning. Not a gentle upgrade, not a comfortable improvement, a ruthless, necessary, soul-defining collapse of everything small, everything weak, everything outdated inside you. You don't get to evolve by keeping who you were. You evolve by becoming someone your old self would never recognize. The fire always begins quietly. People think transformation begins with a dramatic moment, a breakdown, a betrayal, a loss, a shock. Sometimes it does, but more often, the fire begins silently, almost politely. A thought, I know I can't live like this anymore. A feeling, I'm meant for more than this. A whisper, why am I still holding on to this life that doesn't feel like mine? This whisper is not random. It is the signal that your mind, your spirit, and your instincts are no longer aligned with the identity you're carrying. Growth is never accidental. It is always preceded by discomfort. When you outgrow a mindset, it becomes exhausting to live with it. When you outgrow a relationship, it becomes painful to tolerate it. When you outgrow your surroundings, they become unbearable to stay in. The fire doesn't begin as destruction. It begins as truth. And truth, once seen, can never be unseen. The person you are clinging to has already died. Most people never evolve because they confuse persistence with attachment. They cling to outdated identities, outdated goals, outdated beliefs, outdated dreams because letting go feels like losing. But that version of you, the one who tolerated disrespect, the one who feared judgment, the one who settled for good enough, the one who shrank to fit into small rooms and small conversations, The one who kept pretending they didn't feel the fire rising inside them. That version is already gone. You're just afraid to admit it. What keeps people stuck is not weakness. It's loyalty to a self they no longer are. But you're standing at the door of rebellion. You're standing at the edge of your own shedding. You are beginning to understand something that terrifies and liberates you at the same time. You must betray your former self to become who you were meant to be. The cost of carrying your old self into your new life. Everyone wants a new life. Nobody wants to give up the behaviors that create the old one. You say you want peace, but you keep choosing chaos out of habit. You say you want confidence, but you hold on to the insecurities that make you feel familiar. You say you want discipline, but you refuse to let go of the laziness and comfort that sabotage you. You say you want respect, but you keep allowing people to treat you like an option. You say you want transformation, but you fear the emptiness that comes after you let the old parts of you burn. This is the truth people hide from. To build a stronger identity, you have to destroy the weaker one. There's no gentle path to evolution. There's no soft exit from the life that limits you. You can't negotiate with your old habits. You can't bargain with your old patterns. You can't compromise with your old fears. You must eliminate them, not bury them, not suppress them, not hide them, burn them. The burning requires brutal honesty. Transformation doesn't start with motivation. It starts with honesty. Sit with yourself and ask, what habits are killing my future? What relationships are draining my strength? What fears am I still bowing to? What excuses have become my personality? What pain am I using to avoid progress? What stories do I tell myself to stay comfortable? This level of honesty is painful because it reveals the real enemy, the version of you that refuses to evolve. But once you see the truth, the burning begins automatically. You start catching yourself before repeating old patterns. You start noticing the red flags you used to ignore. You start pulling away from people who drain your energy. You start rejecting the excuses that once felt reasonable. You start feeling disgusted with anything that wastes your potential. This disgust is sacred. It is the ignition of transformation. It is the voice inside you saying, enough. This is not who you are anymore. Burning identity is hard because it means losing who you were. Every time you evolve, you lose something. You lose the comfort of your old habits. You lose the people who preferred the weaker version of you. You lose the validation that came from staying small. You lose the routines that kept you predictable. You lose the identity that kept you safe. And it hurts, not because you're losing something essential, but because you're losing something familiar. Humans fear the unfamiliar. We fear the uncertainty of a new life, even when the old one is suffocating us. But the reality is simple. Growth demands sacrifice. Evolution demands surrender. Rebirth demands fire. You cannot bring the ashes of your former self into your next chapter. Letting go of people who can't follow you. There are people who are perfect for who you were, but poisonous for who you are becoming. People who love your wounds because they can control you through them. People who love your insecurities because they feel superior beside them. People who love your old habits because your growth threatens their comfort. People who love your stagnation because your progress would expose their lack of it. When you begin to evolve, they will say, you've changed. You're acting different. You're becoming distant. You're not the same anymore. And they'll be right. They want the old you back because the old you didn't make them uncomfortable. But you didn't come this far to stay trapped in a version of yourself designed by fear and influenced by people who benefit from your weakness. A warrior cannot rise while carrying the expectations of those who fear his strength. Your journey demands that you walk away from anyone who keeps you tied to who you used to be. The fire transforms you into someone you've never met before. When you finally let the burning happen, when you drop the old habits, old wounds, old fears, old personalities, something remarkable begins. You feel lighter. You feel clearer. You feel stronger. You feel connected to an identity that feels real for the first time. Your mind sharpens. Your discipline grows teeth. Your voice gains weight. Your decisions become firm. Your energy becomes guarded. Your purpose becomes undeniable. You start acting like someone you once believed you could never become. Not because you found a new version of yourself, but because you uncovered the version that always existed beneath the layers of fear, conditioning, trauma, and self-sabotage. Fire doesn't destroy the real you. It destroys everything that is not you. You are no longer who you were, and that is your power. You burned the weaker identity. You released the people who held you back. You destroyed the habits that betrayed your potential. You confronted the truths you avoided. You accepted the discomfort of becoming more. Now a different kind of fear rises in you. Not fear of failure, but fear of your own potential. Because deep down, you're becoming someone capable of building a life that your past self could not even imagine. This is not the end of the fire. It is the beginning of rebirth. Everything ahead of you now, the discipline, the leadership, the resilience, the momentum, will come from the ashes of the person you refused to remain. You didn't just grow. You transformed. You evolved. You rose. And now, nothing can ever make you shrink again. The person you outgrew is gone forever. And the person rising from that fire is someone unstoppable. Chapter 7. Momentum, the art of quiet victory. Building habits, discipline, and small daily wins that reshape your destiny. Momentum is invisible until it's undeniable. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It doesn't demand recognition. It doesn't require applause. Momentum is quiet, patient, relentless. It is the steady hum beneath every great transformation, the invisible force that carries you through the storms of life long before the world recognizes your rise. This chapter is about harnessing that force, about understanding that success, strength, and evolution are rarely built in a single leap. They are sculpted through small, consistent actions, the victories that no one sees but that eventually define who you are. The power of small wins. Most people misunderstand progress. They chase grand gestures, dramatic moments, or monumental achievements. They forget the quiet power of consistent, small victories. Choosing discipline when it's inconvenient. Speaking your truth when silence feels safer. Saying no when it would be easier to say yes. Waking up while the world sleeps. Finishing tasks no one will notice. These actions may feel insignificant in isolation. A single disciplined morning. A single hard conversation. A single moment of choosing the right over the easy. It feels small. It feels inconsequential. But momentum is born here. Each action compounds. Each choice adds weight. Each repetition strengthens the invisible thread connecting effort to transformation. What feels quiet today becomes undeniable tomorrow. What seems trivial now becomes extraordinary over time. What looks invisible today becomes your legacy when no one was watching. The science of momentum. Momentum is both psychological and physical. Physically, the brain responds to repeated actions by forming neural pathways, habits that eventually act automatically. Psychologically, your confidence, your sense of capability, and your belief in your own strength grow when you consistently meet challenges, no matter how small. Imagine rolling a boulder up a hill. At first, it barely moves. You strain. You sweat. You wonder if it's even worth the effort. But a little at a time, you find a rhythm. The boulder begins to shift, then roll, then accelerate. By the time it reaches the top, the hill that seemed impossible now appears inevitable. This is the essence of momentum. The universe doesn't reward intention alone. It rewards persistent motion, the discipline of consistency. Discipline is the engine of momentum. Without discipline, momentum dies in its infancy. Consistency is what turns effort into movement, effort into growth, effort into mastery. Discipline doesn't mean perfection. It doesn't mean endless struggle. It doesn't mean punishment. Discipline is choice. It is showing up even when you don't feel like it. It is honoring your commitments to yourself before seeking approval from others. It is creating your own standards and refusing to compromise them. Every small act of consistency is a vote for the person you want to become. Every day you honor the process, you move closer to the life you once only dreamed of. The momentum of emotional steadiness. Momentum is not only physical or mental, it is emotional. The warrior who rises with discipline but crumbles under emotion cannot sustain progress. The quiet victories are often emotional, responding calmly when provoked, choosing clarity over impulse, forgiving without forgetting, persisting without recognition, loving without dependence. Each act of emotional mastery compounds, creating an internal force that propels you forward. The calm mind, steady heart, and unshakable focus become invisible engines of your rise. Others may only see the results. They rarely notice the quiet internal battles that made them possible. Patience, the unseen force. Momentum cannot be forced. It cannot be rushed. It cannot be faked. It grows slowly, steadily, often under the radar. There will be moments when your progress feels invisible. Weeks, months, even years where it seems like nothing is changing. The boulder is barely moving. The hill looks impossibly steep. This is the test. The warrior persists. The warrior trusts the process. The warrior understands that time and repetition are the sculptors of destiny. Patience is not passive. It is active trust, the faith that each effort, each small victory, is building the momentum that will one day become unstoppable. The danger of complacency. Momentum is delicate. It can be halted by distraction, hesitation, or doubt. The greatest enemy of progress is complacency, the illusion that small successes mean the battle is won. The quiet victories of yesterday are not guarantees for tomorrow. Consistency today is what sustains the force of yesterday's progress. Momentum is a living system. It must be nurtured. It must be protected. It must be fed with intention, discipline, and courage. Even one day of neglect can slow the rise. Even one moment of doubt can disrupt the flow. Even one compromise of your standards can weaken the invisible engine driving your transformation. The art of compounding actions. Momentum is the compounding of consistent action over time. Just as small deposits grow into immense wealth, small victories accumulate into unstoppable momentum. Consider your mornings. Waking early, journaling your intentions, exercising your body, focusing your mind. One morning feels insignificant. A week feels small. A month feels unremarkable. But 6 months of this practice, a year, momentum grows. Life changes. Confidence rises. Relationships improve. Opportunities appear. Energy multiplies. The quiet victories compound silently, invisibly, until one day, the results are undeniable. The momentum of courage. Momentum isn't only about comfort or routine. It is about courage in action. Courage is often misunderstood as a dramatic act, confronting a bully, quitting a job, or standing in front of a crowd. True courage is quieter. It is the small, repeated acts of bravery that nobody sees. Speaking the truth, even when it hurts. Ending relationships that no longer serve growth. Taking responsibility when excuses feel easier. Showing up to challenges when the outcome is uncertain. Persisting in discipline when temptation calls. Each act feeds momentum. Each act creates an internal energy that cannot be stolen. Each act proves to your soul that you are capable of more than you believed. How momentum changes everything. Once momentum begins to build, everything changes. Opportunities that once felt distant appear. Confidence that once seemed elusive becomes natural. Fear that once dominated your choices diminishes. Decisions that once paralyzed you become clear. Your energy shifts and people notice. Your presence strengthens, even silently. Your results multiply. Not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because you have become unstoppable. The beauty of momentum is that it doesn't require constant attention. Once the engine starts turning, it feeds itself. Small victories begin attracting more victories. Courage becomes habit. Discipline becomes lifestyle. Growth becomes inevitable. The art of quiet victory. Quiet victory is different from loud achievement. It doesn't need recognition. It doesn't require validation. It doesn't demand applause. It is the satisfaction of knowing that you are moving, growing, improving, even when nobody is watching. The world sees results. You feel the journey. This is the art of quiet victory. Doing the work when it's hard. Choosing the right when it's lonely. Rising when it's unseen. Persisting when it feels fruitless. Trusting yourself when no one else does. Every quiet victory becomes momentum. Every moment of discipline compounds into unshakable force. Every small choice builds a life that feels inevitable because it has been earned step by step. The warrior who understands momentum. The warrior who masters momentum understands. Success is rarely instant. A growth is rarely linear. Discipline is the silent hero behind every victory. Courage is compounded by repeated action. The life you desire is built one choice at a time, quietly, consistently, relentlessly. Momentum is your ally. Your patience is your weapon. Your discipline is your armor. Your courage is your engine. When combined, these forces create unstoppable movement. A life reshaped not by luck or fleeting motivation, but by persistent, consistent action that becomes unstoppable over time. Key takeaways. Momentum is built from small, consistent victories, not sudden achievements. Discipline, courage, and emotional steadiness compound over time to create unstoppable growth. Patience is not passive. It is active trust in the process. Quiet victories are more powerful than loud achievements. Protect your momentum from complacency, doubt, and distraction. Reflection exercise. Identify 3 small actions you can do consistently every day for the next month that align with your long-term goals. 1. Track them daily. Celebrate the consistency, not just the outcome. 2. Reflect weekly. How does your energy, focus, and confidence shift as momentum builds? 3. Choose one emotional or mental habit to practice responding instead of reacting. Notice how this affects your daily wins. Chapter 8. Guard your circle like a fortress, choosing people, energy, and environments that fuel your rise. Every warrior knows the value of the battlefield, but few recognize that the first battlefield exists not in the outside world. It exists in the circle you carry around you every day. Your inner circle, your friends, colleagues, family, and even casual contacts, is the invisible architecture of your life. It shapes your decisions, your energy, your focus, and ultimately your destiny. This chapter is about guarding that circle with the vigilance of a fortress and the precision of a strategist. It is about protecting your mind, your time, and your spirit from forces that dilute, distract, or destroy your growth. The invisible influence. Humans are social creatures. We are wired to absorb the energy, beliefs, and moods of those around us. The problem is that most people unconsciously allow negative influence into their inner circle. You've probably felt it before. A friend who constantly complains and drags you into their drama. A colleague whose ambition only exists to compete, not collaborate. A family member who undermines your confidence, intentionally or not. A partner whose energy feels like friction rather than fuel. It's subtle at first. You justify it. You tell yourself, they mean well, or I can handle it. But the impact accumulates. Every hour spent with a negative energy source chips away at focus, motivation, and clarity. Every repeated exposure to doubt, fear, or toxicity strengthens old patterns you're trying to leave behind. Your circle is either a cage or a launch pad, and the warrior understands this. The silent cost of toxic connections. Toxicity is rarely dramatic. It's often quiet, insidious, and disguised as love, friendship, or advice. The friend who celebrates your failures more than your wins. The colleague who whispers doubts in your ear when you're closest to a breakthrough. The relative who reminds you of your past mistakes instead of honoring your growth. These are the silent thieves of potential. They don't attack directly. They sneak into your mind and plant seeds of uncertainty. They make you question your choices. They distract your focus. They sap your energy. Every fortress has walls for a reason. Every warrior has boundaries for a reason. Your circle must be curated with intent, not convenience. The principle of energy alignment. People often talk about support systems as if it is just a nice idea. But in reality, your support system is your energy ecosystem. Energy flows. It moves. It amplifies. It diminishes. Surround yourself with driven, aligned, and disciplined individuals, and your own focus strengthens. Surround yourself with fear-driven, insecure, or stagnant individuals, and your energy weakens. You cannot rise in an environment that doesn't allow for your growth. You cannot evolve while constantly absorbing the limitations, insecurities, or unresolved trauma of others. A warrior chooses energy over obligation, alignment over convenience, growth over approval, the courage to distance. Guarding your circle requires courage. It requires saying no to familiar faces who no longer serve your evolution. It requires accepting the loneliness that comes with choosing growth over comfort. You may lose people who were with you for decades. You may disappoint those who relied on your availability. You may face criticism, guilt, or resentment. But consider this. Every person you keep around who limits your potential is a silent weight around your neck. Every relationship maintained out of fear, obligation, or guilt drains your energy faster than any challenge life throws at you. The fortress must be built first on solitude, clarity, and self-respect. Those who add value, perspective, and energy will enter naturally. Those who do not will be kept at the gate. Courage is not only about confronting the outside world. Courage is about confronting the people you invite into your internal world. The discipline of boundaries. Boundaries are the walls of your fortress. They're not excuses. They're not punishments. They're not rejections. Boundaries are declarations. I will not tolerate negativity that corrupts my focus. I will not accept relationships that drain my energy. I will not give access to people who disrespect my growth. I will protect the peace I've fought to build. Discipline is required because boundaries are constantly tested. People will push, question, and provoke. They will try to guilt you into old patterns of compliance. They will attempt to remind you of shared history as leverage. A warrior does not abandon boundaries under pressure. A warrior reinforces them with clarity, calmness, and consistency. Your inner circle is a fortress. Every wall, every gate, every watchtower serves the purpose of protecting your evolution. The importance of selective intimacy. Your inner circle is not about the number of people. It is about depth, alignment, and quality. Some relationships are meant for intimacy. Others are meant for observation. Some are meant for guidance. Some for inspiration. Some for challenge. A wise warrior asks, who truly sees me? Who challenges me to rise without breaking me? Who celebrates my wins without envy? Who encourages growth without judgment? Who aligns with my values, purpose, and ambition? The answer is never everyone. The answer is intentional. Your circle becomes a curated collection of individuals who feed your spirit rather than consume it, who amplify your energy rather than steal it, who propel you forward rather than hold you back. Recognizing energy drainers. Not everyone in your life is toxic. Not every draining relationship needs to be cut completely. Some are energy vampires temporarily in your orbit. Some are lessons in disguise. Some reflect unresolved issues within yourself. The warrior observes. The warrior evaluates. The warrior decides. Does this relationship serve growth? Does this connection bring energy, inspiration, or wisdom? Or does it feed fear, doubt, distraction, or stagnation? Those that elevate you, invest in. Those that drain you, distance from. Those that challenge you, navigate with discipline. Every choice is part of building the fortress. Every decision is a stone in the wall, protecting your time and space. Your circle is not only about people, it is about your environment. The physical spaces you inhabit, the digital spaces you allow into your mind, the media you consume, the schedules and routines you maintain. All of these are extensions of your circle. All of these shape your energy, focus, and growth. A fortress is meaningless if the gates are open to chaos. The The warrior cultivates spaces that nurture creativity, clarity, and courage. Limit unnecessary distractions. Remove toxic media from your life. Surround yourself with stimuli that inspire, educate, and motivate. The circle is complete only when it encompasses people, space, and influence. The reward of a guardian circle. Once you guard your circle, something remarkable happens. Energy multiplies. Focus sharpens. Confidence grows. Momentum accelerates. Growth becomes inevitable. Your mind is no longer constantly weighed down by negativity. Your emotions are no longer hijacked by others. Your clarity and purpose begin to dominate your life. The people who remain are allies. The space you inhabit becomes sacred. Your time becomes precious. And the quiet victories you achieve in this fortified environment compound faster than ever before. Your rise becomes unstoppable. The warrior's rule. A warrior does not apologize for guarding their circle. A warrior does not compromise their standards for comfort. A warrior does not tolerate presence that diminishes their power. Your circle is your first line of defense. It is your energy, your clarity, your focus, your fortress. Protect it like your life depends on it, because it does. Key takeaways. Your inner circle defines your energy, focus, and growth. Boundaries are essential for protecting your mind, body, and spirit. Choose relationships based on alignment, energy, and mutual growth. Protect your environment, time, and mental space with the same rigor as your relationships. A fortified circle accelerates momentum, clarity, and transformation. Reflection exercise. 1. Write down the 5 people you spend the most time with. 2. Evaluate how each one affects your energy, focus, and growth. Label them as elevate/drain/neutral. 3. Decide one action to either deepen alignment with elevators, set boundaries with neutrals, and distance from drainers. 4. Review your daily environment, physical, digital, social. Identify one adjustment that will protect your energy and amplify focus. Chapter 9. You become the leader you needed. Stepping into vision, direction, responsibility, and self-authority. Leadership is not a title. It is not a position. It is not applause or recognition. Leadership is a state of being. It is the quiet, unwavering command you hold over your own life. It is the ability to navigate chaos without surrendering to it. It is the discipline, courage, and vision that you embody before the world even notices. And the most important leadership you will ever assume is not over others. It is over yourself. This chapter is about becoming the leader your younger self desperately needed. The leader who would have held your hand, guided you through your fears, and refused to settle for mediocrity. The gap between self and leadership. Think back to your younger self. Maybe you were scared. Maybe you were uncertain. Maybe you felt invisible or powerless. Maybe you watched others succeed and wondered, why not me? That version of you craved guidance, wisdom, and protection. That version of you needed someone to stand up, take responsibility, and navigate the storms of life. The truth is that someone is you. No mentor, no parent, no teacher can fully lead the life you're meant to lead. You must step into that role. Becoming the leader you needed is not optional if you desire transformation. It requires courage, clarity, and uncompromising responsibility. The foundation, self-responsibility. Leadership begins with self-responsibility. Most people search for external solutions. They wait for recognition, promotion, luck, or validation. They blame circumstances, other people, or timing for their failures. A warrior understands that leadership is claiming full responsibility for everything in your life. Your decisions, your actions, your results, your emotions, your growth. No excuses, no deflections, no waiting. You are not a victim. You are a commander. Leadership is rooted in the relentless pursuit of accountability, starting with yourself. Vision, seeing what others cannot. A leader is first a visionary. Vision is the ability to see beyond current circumstances. It is the capacity to imagine what could exist before it exists. It is the understanding that your life is not a reaction to chaos. It is a creation of purpose. Your younger self may have lacked direction. They may have been overwhelmed by uncertainty or drowned in fear. The leader you're becoming sees past that. You see opportunities where others see obstacles. You see solutions where others see problems. You see growth where others see failure. You see your potential where others see limits. Vision is the compass of leadership. Without it, you drift. With it, every action, every decision, every sacrifice becomes intentional. Courage, the essence of leadership. Leadership is impossible without courage. Not the courage of theatrics, but the courage of consistency. The courage to make hard choices when everyone else hesitates. The courage to take responsibility when it would be easier to blame. The courage to stand alone when your peers follow mediocrity. The courage to confront your own weaknesses instead of hiding from them. Courage is not absence of fear. It is mastery over it. A leader does not wait for fear to vanish. A leader acts in spite of fear. Every courageous action compounds, reinforcing the authority you have over your life. Decision-making, the leader's tool. A leader is defined by their decisions, not their intentions. Your younger self may have craved certainty, waiting endlessly for the right moment or the perfect instruction. The truth is, leadership thrives in uncertainty. The moment you step up to make decisive, informed, courageous choices, you take ownership of your life. Decision-making is a muscle. Start small. Decide your morning routine, your priorities, your daily focus. Scale up. Decide on relationships, career moves, financial commitments, and personal boundaries. Observe results, adapt, and learn. Indecision is the silent thief of potential. Decisiveness is the hallmark of the leader you were born to become. Integrity, aligning actions and values. Leadership without integrity is empty. It is a castle built on sand, destined to collapse. Integrity is the alignment of your thoughts, words, and actions. Speak truth even when it is inconvenient. Act with purpose even when no one is watching. Honor commitments even when they feel costly. Stand firm on principles even when compromise seems easier. The leader you're becoming does not negotiate their values for comfort or approval. They do not bend under pressure. They understand that trust, respect, and authority are earned through consistent integrity. Mentoring yourself. The leader you needed as a younger self does not exist outside of you. It exists within. Ask yourself, what advice would I give to my younger self? How would I protect them from mistakes without sheltering them from growth? What habits, routines, and mindsets would I instill to prepare them for life's storms? Then become that mentor. Speak to yourself with honesty and compassion. Push yourself toward uncomfortable growth. Celebrate your wins, however small. Guide your decisions with wisdom over impulse. You become both the teacher and the student, the protector and the challenger, the nurturer and the enforcer. Accountability, the warrior's companion. A leader does not grow in isolation. Accountability is a tool to sharpen your authority over yourself. Journal daily. Reflect on choices, outcomes, and lessons. Track progress in personal, professional, and emotional goals. Seek honest feedback from trusted allies who amplify your growth. Accountability ensures you do not drift back into complacency. It ensures that the leader within is not a role you play, but a reality you live. The ripple effect. When you become the leader you needed, the impact is profound. Your decisions influence not just your life, but the lives of those around you. Your energy sets a standard for others. Your courage inspires action. Your clarity provides direction. Your integrity becomes a foundation others can rely on. Leadership is contagious. The warrior who commands themselves inspires others to rise. The inner authority you cultivate radiates outward, shaping relationships, teams, communities, and even generations. The final truth: leadership starts with you. Leadership is not about permission. It is not about recognition. It is not about title or wealth. It begins with claiming the role that was always yours. protecting your vision, honoring your growth, commanding your actions, mastering your mind, cultivating discipline, courage, and integrity. The leader your younger self needed is not waiting in the future. They are born the moment you accept responsibility for your own life. You're the authority you sought. You're the guide you wish for. You are the protector, the mentor, and the commander. And once you step fully into that role, nothing, no fear, no doubt, no circumstance can derail your rise. Key takeaways. Leadership begins with self-responsibility, not external control. Vision, courage, and decisiveness are the pillars of personal authority. Integrity ensures that leadership is sustainable and respected. Mentoring and holding yourself accountable creates unstoppable momentum. Leadership radiates outward, influencing others long before recognition arrives. Reflection exercise. 1. Write a letter to your younger self, giving them the guidance, protection, and encouragement they needed. 2. Identify one area in your life where you have avoided responsibility. Take a decisive action today to reclaim it. 3. Choose one daily habit that will strengthen your leadership. Discipline, reflection, journaling, decision-making, or mentoring yourself. 4. Reflect on your current circle. How can you lead by example and elevate those around you without compromising your growth? Chapter 10. Wolves don't quit, they evolve. The wolf does not apologize for its hunger. It does not beg for permission to rise. It does not surrender when the path is steep or the night is dark. It adapts. It survives. It evolves. And so must you. This chapter is the culmination of every lesson, every struggle, every quiet victory you have fought for. It is the moment where your ashes become armor, your scars become wisdom, and your life becomes a testament to relentless evolution. The hunger for more. You have survived the night when your soul trembled. You have endured the lessons written in darkness. You have found yourself. You have awakened the warrior within. You have burned the self you outgrew. You have built momentum and guarded your circle. You have become the leader you needed. And yet, here's the truth. The journey does not end. Evolution is eternal. The wolf is never satisfied with comfort. It never allows stagnation to settle. It knows that each day is a chance to sharpen claws, strengthen instincts, and expand territory. You must adopt the same hunger. A hunger not for wealth, recognition, or applause, but for growth, mastery, and purpose. A hunger to become the most formidable version of yourself every single day. The power of adaptation. Life does not follow the script we desire. Circumstances shift. People betray. Opportunities vanish. Pain arrives uninvited. Those who survive these storms are not the strongest. They're the most adaptable. Adaptation requires humility. It demands that you let go of the belief that the world owes you fairness. It requires that you accept reality exactly as it is, then act with courage and precision. Evolution is not passive. It is the active art of turning obstacles into opportunities, limitations into lessons, and failure into fuel. The wolf does not resist the storm. It uses it to grow stronger, faster, sharper. Pain as the catalyst. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is unavoidable. But evolution requires one thing: choice. You can allow pain to break you, or you can allow it to teach you. You can use suffering as an excuse, or you can use it as a weapon. Every scar on your body, every wound on your heart, every failure in your past is raw material for transformation. The wolf carries its wounds proudly. They are proof of survival, strength, and adaptability. Your pain is the fuel that ignites your next evolution. If you choose courage, it becomes power. If you choose discipline, it becomes mastery. If you choose reflection, it becomes wisdom. Nothing is wasted in the life of a warrior who evolves. Resilience as a lifestyle. The wolf does not quit because it understands the rhythm of life. It understands that persistence is not a moment. It is a lifestyle. Resilience is not something you summon once and forget. It is a constant choice, a daily discipline. It is the unwavering refusal to let setbacks define you. Resilient people do not merely survive. They thrive amidst adversity. They bend, but do not break. They fall, but rise faster. They encounter storms, but learn to dance within them. To evolve, you must live resilience as a principle, not a reaction. Clarity of purpose. Evolution without purpose is chaos. The wolf hunts not for sport, but for survival, nourishment, and the continuation of its pack. It moves with precision, intention, and focus. Your evolution must be fueled by clarity. Why are you pursuing this path? What legacy do you want to leave? Who do you aim to become? Purpose aligns energy, sharpens focus, and turns effort into unstoppable force. Without it, adaptation becomes aimless. Growth becomes scattered. Strength becomes hollow. The wolf evolves with purpose. So must you. The courage to change again. Many people resist evolution because it demands uncomfortable change. It asks you to let go of success that no longer serves you. It asks you to abandon beliefs that have grown weak. It asks you to step into roles you are not yet confident to occupy. Courage is required, not once, but continuously. Evolution is not a one-time victory. It is the repeated decision to grow beyond your former self. The wolf sheds old patterns instinctively. It adapts to survive, to thrive, to dominate. You must shed the parts of yourself that no longer serve your growth, even if it feels painful. Every evolution requires sacrifice. Every transformation requires courage. The power of consistent action. The wolf does not wait for opportunity. It moves, hunts, and survives every day consistently. Evolution is the sum of repeated, intentional actions over time. Small victories compound into extraordinary results. Daily discipline shapes character. Persistent focus builds unstoppable momentum. Consistency is the bridge between desire and transformation. Without it, evolution is only a dream. With it, transformation becomes inevitable. Leading your pack. The wolf is rarely alone. It thrives within the pack, an ecosystem of trust, loyalty, and collective strength. Your evolution does not exist in isolation. As you grow, you will naturally attract allies, mentors, and kindred spirits. Those who respect your journey, challenge you to rise, and elevate your purpose. Leadership is not a solo mission. It is the responsibility to guide and inspire those who follow. Your evolution becomes a beacon. Your discipline becomes a standard. Your courage becomes contagious. The wolf leads by example. So must you. Embracing the unknown. The final truth about evolution is this: it never ends. There will always be new heights, new challenges, new versions of yourself to discover. There will always be nights when doubt creeps in, storms that threaten to push you off course, and obstacles that seem insurmountable. The evolved warrior does not fear uncertainty. They embrace it. Because within the unknown lies growth. Within the chaos lies clarity. Within discomfort lies the next leap of evolution. The wolf does not quit. It does not complain. It does not pause in fear. It evolves. And so must you. Your legacy of evolution. By now, you're no longer the person who trembled in the night. You're no longer the person trapped in old patterns or limited by fear. You're no longer waiting for permission, guidance, or opportunity. You are the leader, the warrior, the architect of your own destiny. You are the evolved version of your past self, the one who would have given everything to survive, to rise, to conquer. Every choice, every act of discipline, every brave step forward becomes part of your legacy. You are no longer merely living. You are transforming life itself. The wolf does not quit because it knows that evolution is eternal. It knows that each day is an opportunity to sharpen, strengthen, and rise. And now, that wolf is you. Key takeaways. Evolution is a continuous process. Growth never ends. Pain, challenges, and failures are fuel for transformation. Resilience, clarity of purpose, and courage are the pillars of evolution. Consistent, Intentional action compounds into unstoppable momentum. Leadership and influence grow naturally as you evolve. The warrior who evolves inspires, leads, and leaves a legacy. Reflection exercise. 1. Identify one limiting habit, belief, or pattern to release permanently. Take immediate action to replace it with a growth-focused practice. 2. Reflect on your daily choices. Which small, consistent actions can you commit to for the next 30 days to accelerate evolution? 3. Write a manifesto for the version of yourself you are becoming. A declaration of strength, purpose, and unstoppable spirit. 4. Mentor your past self. List 3 lessons you've learned that would have changed your life earlier and embody them fully today.